Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't posted in a while, but that's because I haven't really gotten any battles worth posting over the past couple of days. I've also dropped a lot, by the way, so just a disclaimer, I dropped to like 2,400 elo from the 3,000s, so I know, it's pretty bad. I was running Spice and none of it was working, but I managed to salvage my elo with some teams that I tried out in the Ultra League. One of the teams I used involved Return Pidgeot, and I actually went positive with Return Pidgeot, although I wouldn't recommend it over Brave Bird and the other move, Feather Dance. But this is my first hundo Pidgeot ever. It is purified, and it was the only way I was able to get a hundo because I've been searching for one for forever. It took me 43 luckies and 2,000 plus encounters to get this hundo, and finally I got one that purified to a hundo, so I thought maybe we should just try it with Return. Now, although I don't recommend this moveset on Pidgeot, I do recommend this team composition. It's pretty solid, and as I said, I dropped a lot, but this team helped me regain a lot of my points. Also, there was another team that helped me regain a bunch of points. I am going to do another video on that team. It's Virizion with the Shadow Feraligatr in the back and Greedent on the save swap. If you want to use that team, go ahead and try it, but I am going to put out another video dedicated to that team. But for this video, we're going to be focusing on this Pidgeot with Return and Shadow Swampert and Registeel in the back. Registeel is going to be your safe swap. I paired Pidgeot with Swampert because they work really well together. Swampert is going to be able to cover those electric types that Pidgeot is going to be weak to, and that's also why I didn't pair it with any other water type, because another water type is going to be weak to those electric types, and you will be ABA weak to that typing. So Pidgeot is going to be able to cover for Swampert's weaknesses like the grass types, and Pidgeot is going to be good against most of the water types that are currently in the meta. So for Alligator, it uses Shadow Claw as its fast move, which Pidgeot is going to be resisting. It's going to be good against Jellicent, it's going to be good against Poliwrath, and it's going to be pretty decent against opposing Swamperts. And as you can see in this game, we are up against a Swampert, and we do manage to land that Return, which is really satisfying, but unfortunately the Swampert does live with a little bit of HP, but that's fine because our opponent is going to have a Cresselia in the back, and we have the Registeel for it. Now, I put Registeel in the back and on the save swap because Registeel can draw out water types like Poliwrath, and Poliwrath is going to be really good against Swampert. If I can draw it out with the Registeel, Registeel will be able to take shields because Poliwrath is going to want to shield those Zap Cannons. Same with if the Registeel draws out any other water type, they are going to want to shield the Zap Cannon. I should put a disclaimer out there, this team is pretty weak to ice types, especially Alolan Sandslash. If you see the Alolan Sandslash on the lead, you have to swap the Registeel into it, which is not great, but at least you can take both shields from them if they really want to save that Alolan Sandslash. And you should be able to reach 2 Focus Blasts on it because 2 Drill Runs I don't think is enough to take the Registeel out. Okay, I went back and I checked PV Poke. I was correct on that. 2 Drill Runs is not enough to take the Registeel out. I just like to double check just to make sure the information I'm giving you guys is correct and it's not based off of a single situation I saw in my battles. So yes, Registeel is going to live 2 Drill Runs, and also Registeel wins in all even shielding scenarios. The only way the Alolan Sandslash can win is if they invest both shields and you invest either 1 shield or no shields. So keep that in mind. Registeel actually not the worst swap into Alolan Sandslash as I thought. Yes, I am the Ultra League specialist on my Battle Frontier team, and yes, I still like to double check these things because you can never be too sure. Now the big question is Return on Pidgeot any good? I'm gonna say it's not really worth it. If you have one with Brave Bird and Feather Dance, then you're fine. You don't need to build another one. Also, Return and Brave Bird are going to be doing the same amount of damage. They both have stab, but it felt like the Return, it was taking forever to get to it, and it takes 9 wing attacks to get to Return. It takes 7 to get to Brave Bird. Granted, there is no debuff with Return, which was nice. It was a lot more freeing knowing that I could use it without debuffing myself. However, I also knew that if I used it, I was going to lose a lot of energy, and it took me forever to build up to that move because 9 wing attacks to get to a move is kind of crazy. Now, I ran Aerial Ace as the second move, although now that I think of it, you could probably run it Return and Brave Bird, and that might be more effective. However, I found that Aerial Ace was really useful in some baiting scenarios, especially since Aerial Ace is the cheapest move that Pidgeot is going to have access to, and because Return just takes so much energy, it was nice being able to bait with that Aerial Ace. Whereas Feather Dance is going to take 7 and then 6 wing attacks, and then Brave Bird is just going to take 7 wing attacks. The biggest downside to running Return is not being able to hit hard against the ghost types, and I was stuck going Aerial Ace against some of the ghost types. If I saw a Giratina, then it was going to be a lot more difficult. Also, I think if I had that Feather Dance, I could just debuff the Giratina and I would have a lot better of a matchup, but for some reason I just ran it with Aerial Ace. It is what it is. We have the battles now, and I think we should just get into it because I have been talking for way too long. In the battle you're seeing on the screen right now, our opponent led Tentacruel, and I decided to stay in with my Pidgeot to go for a return. Now, they go ahead and they shield it, and that's just unfortunate because I had to stay in that matchup for such a long time, and now my Pidgeot is in the red. Again, that's one of the downfalls of Return having to take so much energy. But at least we're able to take a shield from them, and then I bring in my Registeel, and it looks like Registeel is going to be core breaking my opponent's team because they go ahead and they bring in a Greedent, and Greedent is not a Registeel answer. We're able to take the Greedent out with 2 Focus Blasts, and they also bring their Tentacruel back into the Registeel, so that's telling me that whatever they have in the back, it is going to be weak to Reggie, and it looks like they are going to have that Guzzlord in the back, but because our opponent went ahead and used both their shields, they shielded the return from our Pidgeot, and they also shielded a Zap Cannon from our Registeel, we are going to be able to take them out with the Swampert. So GG's to our opponent, we're going to take that win. Moving on to the next battle, it looks like we are going to be seeing a Shadow Gliscor on the lead, and here I actually think I'm going to go ahead and bait. I didn't bait last time because Tentacruel is pretty tanky and they can tank a hard-hitting move. So this time I decide to bait because they are very likely to shield their Shadow Gliscor, and luckily they do shield it, and now I'm just going to go for that return and hope that my opponent does not call it. They don't, they no shield, and we're able to one-shot the Gliscor and take it out, and our opponent brings in a Shadow Poliwrath. We're even able to reach an Aerial Ace and take their final shield. We have a shield left. I can now bring the Registeel in and go for a Zap Cannon. One is going to be enough to take the Poliwrath out, and I'm going to go ahead and save my final shield for the Swampert. And good thing I did this because our opponent is going to have an Annihilate in the back. I just need 2 Hydro Cannons to take this Annihilate out. If I had used the shield on my Registeel, I would have had to take a Shadow Ball and they would have been able to take us out. But here they're only going to be able to reach 2 Night Slashes. We can take one of those. They can't take 2 Hydro Cannons. We're able to take them out and take that win. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to see a Steelix on the lead, which is really bad for us. So I go ahead and I swap into my Registeel, and unfortunately for me, our opponent is going to have a Runerigus in the back, so they're ABA weak to water types. And if I had brought in my Swampert, maybe I would have had a chance here, but still, this is very unfortunate for me. I was definitely not expecting to see a Runerigus in the back, so we're pretty much getting really hard countered in this game. Anyways, if I brought in the Swampert, I think they would have brought in whatever their third Pokemon was, and I can't remember what that is. We'll see in a bit, but I'm gonna bring in Pidgeot now and go for a full farm down on this Runerigus, and 2 Shadow Balls is going to be doing quite a bit of damage, unfortunately, to the Pidgeot. But our opponent's going to bring that Steelix back in. I'm going to bring in Swampert, and I take the Psychic Fangs. Our opponent is going to have a Tentacruel in the back, so they're fully weak to Swampert, but unfortunately, I am not going to have enough health on my Swampert to be able to deal with this Steelix. So they go ahead and they Acid Spray us from the Tentacruel. They still have 2 shields left for their Steelix, and we are debuffed, so they're going to be able to take us out with the Dragon Tails, and unfortunately my Pidgeot is not going to be doing enough damage to the Steelix. I needed to reach 3 returns in total in order to take the Steelix out, but unfortunately it's just not going to happen. So they're able to Dragon Tail our Pidgeot down, and then they can Dragon Tail our Swampert down, and they take that win. But that's still a 4-1 in the set, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just slowly climbing out of the hole that I dug for myself because I have no idea what I was thinking letting myself drop this low. Oh well, it happens. Now this next set you'll notice is a little bit higher in elo. That's because I went and I used the Virizion team that I told you guys about, and I climbed quite a bit with that, and then I came back to this team because I needed a few more battles to showcase with Return Pidgeot so that I could have, you know, a full video. Anyways, on the lead in the next battle, we are going to see another Gliscor, and this time I bait, and unfortunately, my opponent does not fall for the bait. Now, I have to make a decision here if I want to save my Pidgeot or not. I decide to shield their Aerial Ace. I should be able to reach another one, and our opponent decides to let their Gliscor go. Okay, this is fine. They bring in a Shadow Feraligatr. I should be able to reach another Aerial Ace. They go ahead and they shield. So I'm okay here with taking a shield from them and letting the Pidgeot go. I'm going to bring in my Registeel now and go for the Zap Cannons. I'm going to go ahead and no shield whatever this is because I've already invested a shield and I have no idea what my opponent is going to have in the back. So I always like to save my shield if I still don't know what my opponent's third Pokemon is. I go for a Focus Blast here because they are in Focus Blast range. I'm able to take their final shield from them, and then I bring in my Swampert because I should be able to reach that Earthquake. However, they catch it on their Clefable. So this is going to get really tricky. I have to leave this matchup with a move stored for the Feraligatr. So I farm up as much as I can, and luckily for me, my opponent actually goes ahead and throws the Meteor Mash, so I didn't have to CMP tie on the Moonblast. I am actually not sure if I would have had enough for 2 Hydro Cannons if I had done that. But because they go for the Meteor Mash, I'm able to farm up extra energy on my Swampert, and I have the Hydro Cannon ready for the Feraligatr. We're able to get it into farm down range, and then I am able to Mudshot it down after they take a Registeel out with the Hydro Cannon. So at least I'm able also to catch the Hydro Cannon on our Registeel. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to see another Tentacruel lead. I saw a lot of these today, and this time I'm changing up my strategy a bit. I fake a Brave Bird, thinking that my opponent would probably shield, and then I go for the Aerial Ace. Unfortunately, they don't fall for my baits, and they no-shield the Aerial Ace. Then I bring in my Registeel, and I take the Scald on my Registeel, and my opponent is going to bring in a Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Gonna be able to go for this Focus Blast against the Sandslash, and then here I have to make a decision if I want to shield my Registeel or not. I decide to shield it so that I can take my opponent's final shield and potentially get the Alolan Sandslash out of the way. Now my opponent goes ahead and throws their energy here. Thank goodness they don't fully farm us down because I don't think I was going to be able to reach another Focus Blast. But now I am putting all of my hope into my Swampert, and I go ahead and I shield the Drill Run. I farm up as much energy as I can before my opponent can reach another move. I think we CMP tied there, and I go for the Hydro Cannon. The Hydro Cannon is enough to take the Alolan Sandslash out, thank goodness. My opponent is going to have a Jellicent in the back. Now, I go for that Earthquake, get the Jellicent into the yellow, and then I swap into my Pidgeot knowing that I have some energy stored on Pidgeot and their Tentacruel is in return range. So in this case, it was really nice that I was able to go for that return because I was able to get the Tentacruel out of the way. My opponent was forced to throw their energy onto my Pidgeot to take me out. And then I was also able to reach an Earthquake on the Jellicent and take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we see a terrible lead of Registeel, and I don't swap into my own Registeel because I know I'm going to be a fast move behind if I swap it in, and I'm just going to lose that mirror match. So I bring in my Swampert, which is not a great idea, but we draw out a Poliwrath. Again, this would have been nice. It would have been nice to draw the Poliwrath out with our own Registeel, but I feel like my opponent could have stayed in that matchup if they don't have a better answer to Registeel, and then they would have won that. So it was a sticky situation for me. I brought in Swampert. At least I was able to land the Earthquake on the Poliwrath, and we even took a shield from them because they went ahead and shielded a Hydro Cannon from our Swampert. Now, I bring in my Registeel, and unfortunately our opponent is going to have their own Shadow Swampert in the back. At this point, I'm just trying to think if there's any way I could win this. I still have 2 shields and my opponent has only 1 shield left, so I know that the next Focus Blast is going to take our opponent's final shield, and I need my Registeel healthy to take care of their Registeel because our Pidgeot is not going to be able to do anything to this extremely tanky Steel type. We're going to go for a return here, but it does a laughable amount of damage, so here I just decide I'm just going to let Pidgeot go, and at this point I'm just going to surrender because I think they undercharged that and they were going to farm us down. Anyways, I was going to lose that. That was a hard counter game. GG's to our opponent. On to the next battle. Our opponent leads a Shadow Feraligatr into our Pidgeot. Now, I'm going to go ahead and shield whatever the first move is. Usually when you use shields, you make your opponent think that you're going to go for a Feather Dance. So I went immediately for the return, calling that my opponent was not going to shield it. They no shield, were able to take the Feraligatr out, and then our opponent brings in a Registeel. So I swap immediately into my Swampert. I also let the Focus Blast go, and then my opponent swaps into a Galarian Weezing. I'm actually in a pretty good place, but I go ahead and I shield my Swampert because I know I can reach another Earthquake, and I know that I could take my opponent's final shield. We get all their shields out of the way. We are shields down as well, but I am going to be able to bring in that Pidgeot and go for a return before my opponent can reach a move, take them out, and then I am going to have the Registeel up against their Registeel. Now, our opponent is going to be outpacing us because they have a little bit of an energy lead, so I'm only going to be able to land 1 Focus Blast on their Registeel. At least they're in the red, and I'm hoping that I can reach a return on our Pidgeot, and the return will be enough to take this Registeel out. We're able to reach it. This is definitely enough because the Registeel is very low. We're able to take it out with a return and take that win. GG's to our opponent, and that is going to be 3 wins in that set. The first game, I left it out of the video. I lost it because I just played it like an absolute idiot, and I didn't feel like wasting my time covering that game. I took it out. Good riddance to that game. I hope no one sees it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like. It helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!